Hey guys, welcome back to Madeira Farms. My name is Amelia and today we are going to be forming all of our loaves. We have I think we have 13 loaves that we need to form. They need to go into the fridge to cold proof. In the last video I talked about some upgrades that I did to the MicroBakery, but one thing that I forgot to mention, which is huge, is I got a second refrigerator, my own refrigerator for all of my eggs, all the ingredients for the MicroBakery, and to cold proof. So that is a huge upgrade. It was actually my brother's, and he was getting a new refrigerator just because that one was like white and he didn't like it anymore, so we got it from him. So it works and it's great. But let's jump into today's video. I have here a bunch of dough that has been proofing all day, so we are going to go ahead and do an awesome dough dump, and then we're going to separate this into all of the loaves. So let's get started on that. All right, so I have some of my dough here, I have more back there, and I have another loaf right here. This is a maple loaf, so I like to do those separate. It is not anywhere close to being ready, so that's going to be something we have to do at the very end, or I might have to just do later on tomorrow. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to flour your surface really well. It might look like a lot of flour, but it's a lot of dough too. And then you get out your scale. I like to use glass bowls, and then I just put my scale to pounds. And I put my glass bowl on, and then I'm going to tare the scale so that it goes to 0. And then we're gonna go ahead and dump our dough out. I always like to use a little scraper just to help the dough out of the container. One thing that you're gonna notice with any sort of sourdough is that it gets on everything. That is part of the fun. Another thing that you're going to want to make sure is that you have plenty of working surface. If your kitchen does not allow you to work with this much dough, if you have a kitchen that just doesn't have like enough counter space, always you could use a kitchen table. And I always like to have a rag or something that I can use to just wipe my hands. I usually put that right here in my apron just so I can go like that. Okay. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take a bench scraper and you're just going to hack off some of the dough. And if you are using my recipe, you're going to want it to be 2 pounds. I'll put the recipe in the description if you want to use it, and that is 2 pounds right there. So I have a bit of a working area right here, and I need to do 2 plain loaves. So I just flip that out, and then what I like to do is stretch it out a little bit. So just like that, fold up from the bottom, fold over, pull the top. Now this part is pretty important. What you're going to do is you're going to take it and you're going to roll it onto itself, creating a lot of tension here at the top. And then you're gonna pull that dough towards you, creating a bunch of tension. And then you can shape up a little bit. So this is gonna give it a little bit of a shape, and I'm just kind of tucking and pulling just to give it a little bit more shape. And then again, I'm gonna pull it towards me. And you can feel the tension in the dough when you do that. Again, shape it a little bit and pull it again. You want a lot of tension in your dough, and then I tuck, and you can see it is really tight. That's going to give you that really nice ear when you're making your loaves. So then I take my bench scraper, pick it up just like this, and then put it right into my container. I ran out of Bantam baskets, so this is a loaf pan with a towel. And then I am just, again, creating a little bit more tension in the top by pulling over the sides. Okay, and then once that's done, I have these reusable plastic bags, and then I just put this right over top. And then this will go into the refrigerator. So let's finish these up.
There is something so great about doing just a plain loaf or an everything loaf where I'm not doing an inclusion. I just feel like this is the core of my business, and I find it so fun to just do these simple loaves.
So next we are going to be doing an inclusion. These are cheese and pepperoni. This is my top seller besides plain. So I'm gonna grab all the ingredients for my inclusion and I will show you exactly how I do that. I have always gotten really good feedback on my inclusions. So if you're looking for something that's easy, definitely try doing this. This way has worked really well for me. I'm kind of lucky because I grew up in a family that owned a pizza shop. I have connections to getting anything pizza related at cost. Grandfather and grandmother started it, I don't know, gosh, forever ago. Their children, so that'll be my dad and his two brothers, they took over the pizza shop. I grew up in a pizza shop. That's what I know. So when it comes to making dough, anything with like Italian seasonings, that's kind of my specialty because that's what I grew up in. We have a pretty big Italian community in our area, actually. That is something that I knew going into making sourdough, and I knew that I could kind of take those Italian flavors and throw them into a sourdough inclusion and kind of make a big impact on that community, because that's something that is near and dear to my heart. Obviously growing up with a big Italian family is always so fun, but you learn a lot about baking and cooking and all the things. So I get my pepperoni, my cheese from the gentleman who took over the pizzeria. We still are in great contact with him, and he is more than willing to help me out. So he gets it wholesale, and then I just literally pay him the wholesale cost for it. So that's nice. My plan is to hopefully be able to get a bunch of ingredients sourced local. So everything that we would get would be grown locally or raised locally. I'm working on that, but for right now, as far as like what is cost efficient, what makes sense, this makes sense. I'm able to get it at a really good cost. The flavor's great. It's a great product. So I think my customers, like I said, I've always gotten really good feedback on my pepperoni, cheese and pepperoni. So that's the little story. I grew up in a pizzeria, and now look. Look at me. I think it's funny. My husband's father was also saying that I think it's his great grandfather, or I can't remember, but he also sold, I think it was like pretzels or something. And I was like, oh, it's just in the family, I guess. So I think those are fun things to learn and like wonder how that made an impact on you and how you fall into that line of work. Okay, I talked too much and didn't share how I did this. That is definitely a problem I have, right? All right, so that is a really tight loaf. I just slap a piece of pepperoni on it so I know what it is, and that feels really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a plastic bag over, and I'll carry these all down when I go down. All right, let's show you how we do these inclusions. And we're gonna cut off 2 pounds. This scale always shuts off. And And I think I told you guys in one of my videos that I was contacted by a local shop and they wanted to start carrying my bread. And that was super exciting news because I'd been working so hard on perfecting everything. So I have been making loaves for them, and this is what these ones are. So they request only 3 different kinds, which is great for me. I don't have to like make 1,000 different flavors. So we just do pepperoni, plain, and everything. Pepperoni is the best seller by far. It's my best seller, like I said. Okay, so we are going to do the same thing we did at the beginning, and then we're just gonna layer it with cheese. And I am very heavy-handed with the cheese and pepperoni because I want the customers to get a bunch of pepperoni and a bunch of cheese when they bite into their sourdough. So I spread it all over. I don't measure, I don't weigh it. I just go by how it looks. I cover every inch that I can. And then I take this side and I kind of pull it and flop it over. And then I put a lot more cheese on and a bunch of pepperoni. And then I do the same thing on this side. So I'm gonna pull it and flop it over. Pull and flop it over. Just kind of tucking in all of those other ingredients. And then I take the pepperoni, or cheese, and put it right on top. And then I take pepperoni again and put it right on top. It doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes I put 2 pieces, sometimes 3, sometimes 1. And then you kind of fold it like you would a burrito. And they're pretty thick. Okay, so then you take the top and you kind of push it over and pull it up. And then I just like bring it back onto some of the cheese and all that goodness. And then as I'm doing this, I'm collecting the cheese and everything that was underneath. So that's getting worked in. And you'll see some of the pepperoni sticking out, and that's perfectly fine. I don't mind it. I think it gives it a little bit more character. This is a little sticky, so I'm just gonna put a tiny bit of flour on and keep working it. So I'm just moving it in a circle, kind of tucking as I'm moving and making it into a nice round circle. With these, you really don't have to work so much to get tension in the top because all of those ingredients are working for you. So you can see this turns into a beautiful loaf very quickly. Okay, and then I lightly flour my banneton. That was a little too much. And then with these, you can kind of just pick them up and put it right into your banneton basket, and it holds its shape really well. If you have any sagging, you can pull it and give it a little bit more tension. You don't have to, because a lot of those ingredients are going to pull the dough tight for you. One thing that I always do is I always put whatever it is right on top before I put the bag on. This just helps me to know what I have in case I get pulled away from making the dough for a minute. I can quickly look over and say, okay, I already did 3 pepperoni. That's what I'm working on. So let's go ahead and finish these up.
It's really important with any inclusion that you make sure you are filling your dough with enough ingredients that your customer is going to be able to tell that it is an inclusion, especially if you're charging them more for those inclusions, which I do. I charge $2 more a loaf for anything that isn't a plain loaf.
those are all of the orders for my wholesale customer. So now we are going to be making some of the specialty orders that I have for tomorrow. My hands are covered in dough. We're going to be making some of those, but it's getting a little dark, so I want to run out to the barn. I need to collect eggs, so I'll take you guys with me to do that, and then we'll come back and finish up. I just slid on Andrew's sweatshirt because it was just right there, and I figured might as well just wear his. I also haven't put on any makeup today because I haven't taken my glasses off. My eyes have been super itchy. I don't know if it's like a allergy or something like that. So I don't know. This time of year is always hard. I feel like I'm either just super tired or I have allergies, but it's a beautiful night. So pretty. All right, let's go grab some eggs. Everyone's perched up. Chickens are everywhere. All right, except in their coop. Oh, there's some over there. I just had a big old scare. I couldn't find the little girl sheep, and she's so like chill. She was just like in the corner laying down, napping, while everyone else is, as you can hear them, going insane. And I thought for sure she was lost somewhere or stuck. Nope, she was just hanging. But I got a bunch of eggs. I don't like to do this, but I ran out of spot in my bucket, so I grabbed the feed bucket, filled that up with eggs. All of these eggs have to be washed because they go to a retail store where customers can buy them, and according to PA regulations, they have to be washed and blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't matter really what I take them in as long as they get washed. But boy, that was so scary. I literally was like about to cry. Thought we lost her or something. I don't know. I thought something bad happened. But everyone's safe. All right, back to making bread. while I formed all of those loaves. I'm just gonna clean up this messy kitchen, get those eggs washed, put them in cartons, and head off to bed. It is already pretty late, and we have an early morning tomorrow where we are going to bake all of the loaves. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, friends.